99 bottles, yeah, we've got 'em all. Line 'em all up and we'll drink till we fall. 'Cause Arthur Cantina's the best liquor store. Arthur Cantina, you'll never need more.
Welcome to another episode of the Arthur Cantina podcast. I'm your host, JP, with the other host, Anthony.
So they call me.
And our friend Giulio here.
With a bit of an Italian accent coming to your guest, listening to the podcast today.
Listen, we've had heavy Lisp people. We've had heavy, no Spanish accents.
Am I the first Italian?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. You're the first Italian from Italy.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of us Italian Americans, but we don't compare. We have a different accent. It's a very different Italian accent.
Today is 100% Italian DNA, let's say.
Beautiful. Very good.
It's about time I get some more pure blood on here with me.
And obviously, Italian soccer supporter, AC Milan supporter.
Forza Milan.
Yeah, always Forza Milan, guys.
Anthony knows nothing about sports.
I would say Juventus is better, but I don't know. I don't feel bad.
Now, then the topic of this conversation is going to completely shift.
So anyway, Italian wine. Giulio, you are a salesman for a small import company. Medium-sized import
I would
company?
say medium.
Large?
I mean, but just remember that I just moved to the New York market only 2 years ago, so I'm learning my way into what we could call easily the most complicated market in the world. But yeah, I would say that Frederick Wildman as a wholesaler is medium-sized compared to some of the biggest names that there are in the market. Feeling pretty, what should I talk about? A bit of my background, let's say?
Yeah. Well, how long have you been in the wine business?
So I think not only I'm probably the first Italian guest that you have, fully Italian, but probably I'm also the only salesperson that didn't drink any wine before turning 25.
Wow.
That could be a thing?
That could be
Definitely.
That's definitely a thing.
So I'm 36 now. I started working, so basically my background is in law. I was studying law school. And when I was 25, I got a bit bored of being on the books all the time. And so I said, let's go to Australia, the other side of the world. And, moving on the other side of the world on my own, I needed to provide for myself. I didn't want to have any help from my family. So I started working in restaurants. And obviously working in restaurant, you got to be able to sell wines, right? Back then I didn't touch like a single drop of wine. I was 25, fully Italian, so quite wild on my own. I didn't need alcohol to further, enhance my craziness. But yes, like working in restaurant, it developed my interest at the beginning in wine. From an interest, we can move either to passion or obsession. I leave that, to you to decide. Now, so I started working in restaurant when I was 25. I moved to the wine industry as a salesperson when I was 28. So it's almost 8 years, let's say, that I'm working in the wine industry. Started working in wine in Australia, funny enough. That was a very small business, importing Italian artisanal wineries to Australia. Loved it, but then, if there is a country that makes things harder than the US for visa, it's definitely Australia. And so eventually I was like, I'm so far away from my family, so far away from my friends. I just want to give myself an opportunity to go back to my home country, which, I'm pretty spoiled. Being able to call Italy home, and especially the area where I'm from, we take it for granted, which we really shouldn't.
Yeah, because now you're stuck in this rat hole of New York City.
No, I mean,
I don't blame you.
The crazy part is that, I was born, we were talking with Anthony briefly before, I was born in the countryside of Venice in a very, probably smaller than the Bronx. My hometown is called San Donato di Piave. So I was born in the province. I grew up with a big garden. I grew up with, a lot of nature around me. And then, you have obviously the histories everywhere, especially when you are nearby Venice. But when I moved to Sydney, that was the first cultural shock, let's say. Completely different type of culture, even though we're talking still about Western type of culture. But I got up, how can I say, accustomed to live in a big city, and that kind of changed my, to me, the best thing is I can walk anywhere, not only in New York City now, but when I was in Sydney, you walk everywhere and nobody knows you. I don't know. I guess I just enjoy the opportunity of not being, recognized around, just being on my own and do my things.
How big is the town you come from? What's the population?
Roughly 50,000 people.
Okay.
So it's nothing for New York. It's relatively small in Italy as well, but it's not like, some people, I met some people even here in New York that come really from villages, like less than 5,000 people living there. So I can't picture what is living, in villages like that. But I can tell you that even my hometown, I hope there is no one listening from my hometown, but it was pretty boring back then. No, it's developing a lot, but of course now I'm 36 and I'm living in a completely different type of situation. Back to JP question, you moved from almost the nothing whatsoever, my hometown, because it's so small and so you always have to go around in order to find a situation, let's say. Then you move to Sydney, which is a big city, obviously, but is relaxed to, like, the definition of relaxation, I think it's Sydney.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's laid down, it's more like on a LA type of vibe. And then I get to move to New York, so I think I experienced both ends of not only of the markets.
Yeah, and the world as well. One's here, one's here.
Because, you get to New York, very rarely I found, I remember the first time that I came to New York was in 2019 for a wedding of one of my best friends. Actually, my roommate back in Sydney, he moved to New York to get married to his wife. And I remember I hated the first 5 days because I was doing, all the tourist stuff. You do the Statue of Liberty, you do all the museum, And then after the 5th day, when I really wasn't enjoying my time in New York, I said, okay, I'm done with the tourist stuff. What do I want to do? Let's go here. And that's when I started experience the energy that the city can give you. When I have people asking me, so how do you find life living in New York? And I'm like, it is a city that gives you 180 type of percent of energy, but then it withdraws 240% from you. So the majority of the friends of mine, both in Australia and in Italy, every time that they call me during the weekend, they are, so what did you do this weekend? You're in New York. And I'm like, dude, I just sleep, cook. I want to watch TV. I want to relax. Even though you are exposed to the best restaurant probably in the world, like the cuisine of New York is so variegated. But being, a salesperson out on the streets, from 9 a.m. to 9 in the evening or night, whatever it is, during the whole week, then during the weekend, you just really want to chill, really.
Why do I feel like there's a lot of Italians in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, find me a country where we are not there. You know what I mean?
That's also true.
I think the other day I was speaking actually with a relative of mine, and she was telling me, I met the friend of mine, she's in her 70s, and she was telling me that she met in her hometown, which is different from mine, a friend of her that was in primary school with her, and then she never saw him again because he moved to New Caledonia. If you ask me where New Caledonia is, I barely know where it is.
Spain, right?
No, New Caledonia is outside, is somewhere in Oceania, so somewhere outside Australia and New Zealand. Is a small
island. Peace out where I got that wrong.
Yes.
Cut that piece out.
Because my cousin, she, I guess, lives in Australia. She's born and raised in Rome. Yeah. And she lives like a van life. She freaking drives around in a van in Australia, like doing odd jobs, and she loves it.
I can tell you that, when I firstly moved to Australia, it was crazy to find as many Italians around. I was honestly blown away. But then, I love London, for example. And I remember the last time I went to London, I didn't hear anyone, and I'm not even kidding, speaking English. Everyone was either speaking Italian, Hindi, or Russian. So I'm like, it's nowadays, not only Italians, I think we are a population that tends also to, expats, like to go overseas. Obviously, we have a history background, especially after World War II, many Italians had, unfortunately, the problem that they had to move. My girlfriend is Argentinian. She was telling me 70% of Argentinian people has Italian citizenship because many Italians went there.
All the Nazis ran down that way.
I said I would much prefer having an Italian family name in Argentina rather than a German.
Messi could have played for Italy, man.
Yeah, dude, tell me about it.
And like for Australians, Christian Vieri. I know.
Oh yes.
Like
not many people know that. Yeah, not many people know, but Bobo, like he's not only he was a great player, but
he's fantastic.
He's an idol to every single Italian man. Thank you, Anthony. Because he dated many hot looking.
Did he?
Yeah.
Blue God bless. The best striker Italy's had in forever.
Yeah, and he's just hilarious as a great guy. But so that's a bit of my background. So I started working in the wine industry in Australia. I loved it so much. Had to move back, but I couldn't, get the visa situation not fixed because everything was set. But then, unfortunately, 3 months before applying for my visa, Australia changed the law for immigration. That was in April 2017. And so, I decided to get done with my temporary visa that I had back then and move back to Italy. I remember, though, when I firstly moved back, the first week, I was taking a trip all over Italy with some Aussie friends. And one looked at me and said, Giulio, you are, overthinking. What is going on? I said, I think it's going to be hell for me to move back to Italy. And it really was. Like, it was 4.5 years where obviously you are super joyful because you are, again, with your parents, with your family, with your friends. But at the same time, if you enjoy the challenges and the stimulation that it brings living overseas, it becomes quite hard, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, to move back to what it was before. So when I was working for a wine distribution in Italy, and they knew that one of my desires was eventually to be able to move back overseas. And they are partnered with Frederick Wildman. So when they find out that Frederick Wildman was looking for an Italian portfolio manager, they said, would you be interested to apply for the position? And I was like, you're asking me to move to the most competitive market in the world, but also one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I'm 36 years old. Unfortunately, I don't have a family for myself at the moment. So I said, if I don't take this train, this is a train that, comes only once in your lifetime. I wanna give myself a chance to experience this, and it's gonna be not only a life experience, a work experience. Enjoying it. Like, look where I am today. On a rainy Sunday, on the Little Italy in the Bronx with Anthony and JP.
With a guy with a Civil War hat on.
Exactly.
A guy in a pink tie and a fucking bozo sunglasses.
When I saw him this morning, I was like, there is something going on with Anthony's hat for sure. But I didn't ask questions.
Listen,
well, it's funny. The things you touched on. You went to Australia first, and then Australia, for whatever reason, didn't work out. And you came back to Italy, and then you went to New York.
Yeah.
My dad kind of had a similar thing.
Wow.
But he didn't leave to Australia. He left and he went to Argentina.
Oh, wow.
So he was in Argentina, and right after World War II, he was a kid during World War II. And they experienced a lot of famine.
Yes.
They were bombing the South.
Yeah.
So my dad would hide in the caves.
Because your family, sorry if I interrupt, your family is originally from south of Italy?
Yeah, Basilicata.
Basilicata, right.
All right, so he's down south over there. The Germans are bombing like crazy. They're running out of food, really hard times.
Yeah.
The war ends, and my dad, I think he's like 14 or 15, stays for a few more years, and then he decides to go to Argentina.
What about in Argentina?
He went to Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires, okay.
Yeah, so he had his sister out there, and she said, come, I can do the papers for you. So he went out there, and he started a new life out there with his brothers and his sisters. And things were going well. He met my mom. He has a little electrician company. He has a bunch of guys working for him. Right. And then the economy collapses.
Yeah.
The dollar becomes devalued, and they decide to get the fuck out of there. So they sold everything, and they moved to New York in the 70s.
Wow.
And they had to restart from scratch.
Right.
They had nothing. They had my older brother, who was, I believe he was 6 at the time, and my sister, who was 2 at the time.
Wow.
So both of them born in Argentina. They came here and they charted a whole new course. And you're saying 36, my dad didn't get married until he was 40.
Yeah.
So he didn't start his life, he didn't start his family until he was 40 years old.
A lot of Italians do it. They leave Italy and then they start their family.
Yeah. I mean...
That's why the population of Italy's dwindling. Everyone's moving out.
Well,
well, it's very hard economy right now.
I don't know if we should get into global politics and
geopolitics.
And
I'll go off.
But everyone moves out of the small towns and they move into the big cities. It's a trend around the world.
So
that's why as a society's dying, because we're all stuck in these cities that are just pollution and garbage and everything else.
I think the game plan is to
be out in the mountains, breathing the fresh air. That heals us. That's what God wants us to do.
You move into the city, you get a nice, high-paying job, you make a nice income for yourself.
It's the devil. Money's the devil.
You buy a piece of property upstate. I think your parents have a piece of property upstate, don't they?
Ooh.
And you go there and you vacation, you get the outside world. And then when you're done with that, you come back to reality.
Yeah.
You break your leg, like I almost did yesterday. You go to the hospital half an hour away,
and then
they patch you up, and you go about your day.
Right.
You break your leg out in the middle of nowhere. You got to travel 2 hours to go to a hospital?
Yeah. That's an interesting topic, but
you can't live life worried about breaking your leg.
Okay. Then you die in the woods.
True.
Okay.
You won't die in the woods. You'll be fine.
So I don't know if
Bambi's gonna eat your face off.
Bambi's not gonna eat you.
Get back to your house.
Don't feed into his bullshit about being part of this machine, the rat race. We don't need it.
But
bend your own leg.
You touched two interesting topic, Anthony, because I don't know if people can. Let's say that for people that can't see me, I'm a relatively slim guy, I would say. But in Australia, I also lived for a little while on a cattle farm, and that's when I get the understanding of being remote. Like your family comes from Basilicata. Basilicata is probably the most rural area that is left in Italy together with Sardinia.
Our town is 5,000 people, or was 5,000.
Yeah.
I think it's 3,000
You go there now, it's like...
I was living in this cattle farm where, the nearest village was like an hour away. And one day, funny that you said, I almost broke my leg because I broke my finger. And I remember, thinking, like, if I'm in a city in, like you said, 10 minutes, you're in a hospital, everything is done, and you move on. There it was a bit different, but living in the middle of nature, at least in my personal experience, it completely changed my appreciation for life. You were saying about your dad having to move, from Italy to Argentina, from Argentina to New York, to the United States. I always remind to myself how privileged I am because my grandfather was kind of in the same situation. He set up a business, and if that business didn't work out, he had already planned to go to Australia. So that's, the type of situation where the background of the majority of Italian people were coming out from. I'm privileged, because I got an education. I had, the opportunity to travel. I earned everything, hopefully, I earned everything that got me to the United States, but I never forget that I'm not moving, I didn't decide to move away from Italy because of need, but because of interest and opportunity, which is a completely different type of situation. The crazy part is that when you think about, many people ask me, so do you think, can you picture yourself living in New York in the long term? I mean, the city is a different beast, right? It's not easy, but to me, the main problem is it's not sustainable for price. Like, if you add me a zero on my salary, I can consider it. But at the same time, when we were talking about you want a garden, you want to experience, like, living in New York, I think is great for a certain period. Yeah, you get to experience life to the fullest, probably. I loved Sydney. It's so more relaxed. But New York, gives you 160% of opportunities. It's a great city to live in if you understand the city, because the city won't come to compromise with you. You have to come to compromise. So you either love it or hate it. for me, I'm very lucky to work for the company I'm working for, because more than the company that I'm working for, is the people that I'm working with that they make all the difference. A few days ago, I had scheduled a in-store tasting here for you guys, and I couldn't come. And I reached out to a colleague of mine, Fosco, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll go with Anthony and JP. Like they are, super fun guys." And I said, "I'm gonna do an in-store tasting for you whenever you want." I know already that he will never approach me saying, "Hey, Giulio, I need you to pay me back." That type of things I don't take for granted. One of the best compliments that I ever received was from a Roman chef when we were working together in Australia. And he said, "Giulio, I think you find good people because you are a good person." I never stopped to think about it, because what you hear from stories, what you see in movies, on television, is like, you never know who you get to deal with, right? Yes, I hope that all the times you get to meet nice people, but you can't take that for granted. So very happy to be working with the people that I work with, and then when I have fun accounts like you guys, Anthony, that makes it better. But unfortunately, that's not part of the business.
Yeah, I know what you guys go through, because same thing on my side. You get sales guys coming in here, and they're just scumbags. Mm-hmm. They're just liars. They tell you, "Yeah, I'll do X, Y, Z. I'll be here every weekend. I'll help you sell it until we get rid of it." You call them, "Hey, it's been 6 months. I've only sold 1 bottle." You go, yeah, I'll be there. You never see them. All right. So there's guys like that, and then it's such a small industry. Yeah. That you remember that. Yeah. And when they go to another company and they show up with the other guy they're working with, and they come in here, it's like they saw a ghost. Yeah. Because all of a sudden, I like to play them. They go, "Okay, yeah, beautiful. This is nice wine. Okay, great. Yeah, we could do 5 cases. We could do 5 cases. Yeah, we could do 5 cases of that too. Okay, great." I'm like, "You know what? We're a little busy right now, so just call me next week." And then I never answer the phone call. Of course. Just to make them feel how it felt they did it to me. It happens, but like you said too, you come across really good people. Yeah. And those really good people, I keep them in a nice short list, and I rely on them, and I work with them. And when they need help, you're happy to. They come through. They say, "Hey, I need this wine. Can you help me out with this?" I'm like, "You know what? You've always been there for me. I can help you out. No problem. You need to make some sales. We could take a little bit extra. It's okay." And this that you just described, in my opinion, is the best part. I mean, obviously we get exposed to very good juice, but the best part of our job for me is exactly what you just described. Is I give you a help when I'm gonna need one. I know that you're gonna be there for me. Is the relationship that you develop with people. I still have accounts that to me are not anymore accounts in Italy and in Australia. I went back to Italy for vacation last month, and I had friends, but also accounts that they were, reaching out. I saw that you're in Italy. When are you coming to have dinner here? When are you coming to have... To me, that's the best thing, because even if you struggle, obviously, you go back. Like a big problem that we should open a good topic, but not on this podcast, is that here in the US, guys, like you just don't have enough vacation.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother.
Like,
Amen.
I remember. Break the microphone.
I remember.
All work and no play, man.
Oh my God.
And for what? I can't even fucking buy a house, man. Thanks a lot. I promise not to go on a parade.
Talking about colleagues and people you work with. The other day in the office, we have now this brand ambassador for one of our brands from Quadrio. And he's a young French guy, super, super fun. And so we were talking, and he's, "Oh, no, but I can't come that Saturday because I'm going on vacation." I'm like, "Bastien, where are you going?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm going here and I'm going there." And I'm like, "But for how long are you going on vacation?" And remember, he's still on his French contract because he's not fully employed by Frederick Wildman. He's here working as a brand ambassador. And it's like, "Oh, dude, but he didn't say in an arrogant way. He said, "I'm going to make you jealous." He said, "I have 5 weeks of vacation every year." And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I want to kill myself now. So he's, going on vacation for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I have for the full year, 15 days. you know, like being Italian, you need vacation. Like we want something that I will never. I think it was taught to me more than by my Italian DNA by living in Australia. It's just work. You know, put your sleeves up. That's you know how do you say, like an education thing that was given to me by my parents, my grandfather and my grandmother. So I'm always very happy to put my sleeves up, but at the same time,
you need that break.
Take your time, enjoy life, because otherwise,
I think the American mentality is to just kill yourself working until you're 65 and then do nothing after 65.
If you're lucky,
too late to
but some
really,
people don't even
if you don't make
get
it to
that.
65.
Some people got to work until the day they died.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, that's the problem that we have, because we don't give health care for free until you're 65 or 67, right? And I think most people think, okay, if I just work like an animal until I'm 65, I pay off all my bills,
right,
then I can just relax. But then most people die because they're not working no more. They don't do shit. They just sit on the couch watching TV, waiting for death to come for them.
You know,
I think it's a big problem that we have in the United States.
I'm going to start the union in Art the Cantina. For 6-week vacation. Yeah, look at him smile. Oh, yeah, okay, you're fucking fired.
That's take your 6 weeks. Go ahead, enjoy. Have a good time. Who knows if your job will be here when you come back. Enjoy the 6 weeks.
It's all right, as long as I enjoy it.
I remember we had one girl who was working here. Nice girl, very nice girl.
Yep.
And she goes, "Oh, I have to go to Montenegro for vacation."
Right.
So I go, "Okay, great. How long are you going for?" She goes, "Oh, it's 3 months." I go, "Okay." It was the slowest time of the year, so I wasn't really upset. I'm like, you know what? We really don't need you.
Work out, yeah.
It's June, July, August. It's the slowest time. I'm like, we'll figure it out. It's fine. So she leaves. I'm okay. I'm working. I got 2 other guys who are working, whatever. And then one of the guys working goes, "You know what, man? He had a problem with her."
I wonder who.
All right. And he goes to me, he goes, "You know what, man?"
Gossips.
He goes, "We should really hire this other kid. This kid, Nick. I think you met Nick before."
Nick is the young guy. He's not. He's the young guy from Boston. No,
that's Oliver.
That's Oliver. Nick is the Albanian kid. You definitely met him.
I don't think so. I think Nick might have left before Giulio.
Because I don't
Possibly.
remember.
Okay, so really nice kid. And this Albanian guy goes, "We should really hire him. He's a really good kid." And I'm like, "I know Nick. I know him for a long time. He used to work at the store and he left." So I go, "Okay, let's give him a shot." So we give him a shot. He ends up working out good. I give him full-time employment. He's working 5 days. And then the girl comes back from vacation. And she goes, "Oh, okay, when can I work?" And I go, "Well, there's no real job for you anymore, but I give you 1 day a week." She's like, "1 day a week?" All right. She's like going crazy. I'm like, it's what happens. You left for 3 months.
Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen?
It's America for you.
No, but
it worked out. Guy filled in. What are you going to do? And he ended up working for like 8 years, the kid, Nick.
Yeah, well,
transition.
I think it all depends also on the
we'll talk about that.
It depends a lot also on how seriously and how much you care about your employment and your job in general.
I think if the job realizes they don't need you, I know.
Yeah, then you don't need the job.
At the same time, my dad used to take 2 months off in the summer. My dad was off July and August.
Right.
Same thing for my mom because she worked for the school.
But when?
She was off July and August.
But when they established themselves, right?
Right. They're already a little older. I was maybe like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
My mom got a school job. My dad, he's an electrician, but he wouldn't work July and August.
Yep.
So we'd go on vacation for wherever. For a month, we'd go somewhere. When we come back, we're at the house. My dad would drive me crazy. I would love if we had 8 weeks off.
8 weeks.
Well, you had 8 weeks off.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
how the country can figure that out, that's a problem for someone else who gets paid more than money than me.
Stop funding wars. And then we all shut down the country for a month and they could send us the checks again and everybody's happy. But no, you got to fund the war here.
I would love it.
You got to do money here. You got to...
I think, though, that... I've been here only for 2 years, so I'm not an expert, but something that strikes my attention is, and I think you are set into the right direction, hopefully, is that many people, at least they realize that they are not able to enjoy their lives fully. Like I had many Americans telling me, I wish I was born in Europe or in Italy especially, because you guys really know how to enjoy your life. Even if, I'll be honest with you, living in New York, financially speaking, it's not easy, right? Because maybe you make a lot of money, yes, but like a glass of water costs you $25 almost. The difference is in Italy, the majority of the youngster perception is like, I got a job, I'm lucky to have a job, I need to be able to keep that job. The fact that many Americans came to me saying, when we were just chatting, obviously, I love how you guys are able to finish your job, go out for a happy hour, spend your money, enjoy your life. That's probably something that is intrinsic in our DNA. But I don't think that there are many people in Italy and in the US also that they realize that shouldn't be taken for granted, meaning the understanding of, I'm doing this, but what is the purpose?
You're working, you're living to work instead of working to live.
Correct. That's exactly my point, yeah. Like you want to reach a point where you are like, yes, I'm happy to put my sleep. Like, this is my kind of situation. I love, my job. I love, like I said, the people that I work with. And that doesn't, it doesn't necessarily mean only the people from Frederick Wildman, the company I work for. It means being able to come here to, even just like the other day, hey, JP, how's going to work the podcast? Just having a chat. And then, to be honest with you, I love even when I have an hard time with an account because it makes me grow. And that's what I seek. Why am I, living in a different country by myself? Because here I don't have anyone, right? So I'm living by myself in a different country, speaking a different language. It's because I enjoy the challenges and I enjoy the stimulation. Now, if I was 60, probably, I would be like, fuck this, like I want to go, I want to take life more easily. But right now, I'm 36 years old, and I'm not ready to deal with anything different than challenges and stimulation. My grandfather who was one of the biggest inspirational figures in my life. I'm probably going to start crying now, but he passed away when he was 92. Stopped driving when he was 90. Grazie, Anthony. And he basically start dying when he had to give back his driver license because he wasn't able to go anymore to this country house and work in the veggie garden. And I remember, like, I would walk in. He was the type of guy sitting on the couch. It would just kill him. I would walk in. He was sitting on the couch. Usually, you would walk into the room, and he was like, "Come give me a kiss on my cheeks." Didn't speak, and was telling you, like, I'm dying inside. Like it was like, even if he was 90 years old, 92 years old, it was like, I'm dying inside. If I'm sitting in this couch, give me
stuck
something.
in this cage.
Yeah. So to me, like working comes as a natural thing. Is an ethic, but then you really need to be able to experience and to enjoy what you're doing. Now, working in the wine industry, I was telling you before, guys, I feel privileged because I had the opportunity to travel and live in different countries. But then, how privileged are we in what we do? Like my girlfriend is always, you gotta do this, you come back late, you have to many times eat out in restaurants. I know that it seems all funny and great, which it is, and that's why I consider myself privileged, but it's also a lot.
Yeah, too much of anything is too much.
You're expending yourself, right?
Yeah.
You gotta have the nice balance and everything. But granted, too, we could be in a quarry somewhere breaking rock, covered in fucking dust.
Precisely.
With my back and legs.
Precisely my point.
We also have a nice life, too. We're selling wine, talking with people.
It could always be worse. It could always be better.
People always usually happy, right, when they leave. As long as they're not an alcoholic and they're not abusing you. They're usually happy when they come to the store. They're happy when they leave. Unless I sell them too much.
And then,
then they're not so happy. But what happens? Sometimes I'm
good
at what I do.
It's a good industry to be in. Like, always have to remember how privileged we are.
I think Giulio was a really good background. Really good way to
Thank you.
Show where you're coming from and where you've been and where you're going.
What are we drinking?
That's a good question.
We almost finished the bottle.
I know. We didn't even like. I don't know if Joey's gonna
The funny part is that I was like, I don't know if the podcast is gonna be for 30 minutes, if it's gonna be for an hour or an hour and a half. I wanted to bring another bottle, very special bottle from this producer that we have to find.
We'll crack something else open. Let's finish this one.
So what are we drinking?
I think you should talk about
what
this.
are we drinking? You gotta bring us
So, when we were chatting with Anthony about what to bring, as I said, I just came back from a trip in Italy, 2 weeks for vacation, and then we did a week meeting some producer. And this was the first producer that we met. I've been to this winery before. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Valtellina, but in this case, we're talking about a grape variety that the majority of people probably know, Nebbiolo. For those who doesn't know Nebbiolo is the grape variety that is used to produce Barolo and Barbaresco. So I'm sure that this rings a bell to the majority of people into wines.
It's my favorite Nebbiolo.
So what's
different?
What's a basic Nebbiolo?
What do you mean, like as a grape variety?
What does a basic Nebbiolo taste like?
That's the beauty of the question, but also the complexity of your question, because to me, Nebbiolo is definitely one of the most interesting grape variety, not from Italy, but in the world. Is a very, very challenging grape variety. Is very early in ripening, very delicate, and very late in ripening. Definitely something
late harvest, like.
Not necessarily late harvest, but definitely is late in ripening.
Okay.
The main thing is it has this austere, earthy type of profile that is unique. It's probably one of the grape variety that has more, I would describe as sophisticated as some Burgundian Pinot Noir can be. I actually did a dinner here in New York, which was extremely fun. A bridge between Burgundy and Barolo. Because there are many aspects that can be similar. In this case, though, we have to go back to the wine that we were talking about, because we're not in Piedmont, we're not in Barolo and Barbaresco, we're in Valtellina. Just to give a background to all the people listening to this Italian accent, Valtellina is in Lombardy region, so we are in the region of Milan. Is an area, though, is the only other area in Italy, South Piedmont, where Nebbiolo grows. But that's not in Lombardy. Nebbiolo in Lombardy only grows in the area of Valtellina. Valtellina is 2 hours away from Milan, heading north.
So north of where typical Nebbiolo comes from?
Much norther, because okay. I don't want to say that Langhe area is in the south of Piedmont, but let's say that is center-south of Piedmont. With Valtellina, we are in the extreme north part of Lombardy. So from Milan is 2 hours heading north driving. And you basically are where there was the collision between the African plates and the European plates that generate the Alps. So you literally are not anymore in hill viticulture, but on mountain viticulture.
Mm-hmm. So colder climate.
Very cold climate. Just to give you a picture, when I met the winemaker of this winery, Nino Negri, his name is Danilo Drocco, and he actually comes from Piedmont. He's from Alba. Was for many years a Barolo producer, and then got the opportunity to work for Nino Negri. And he was telling me, before global warming, because we also have to think that we're going through a time of change. Before global warming, in Valtellina, the weather conditions were so extreme that you had 3 relatively easy vintages and 7 very, very hard vintages where you had to micromanage the vineyards every day. Now it's becoming the opposite. Now it's becoming 7 years are, more stable. 3 years are very challenging.
I was actually talking about this last night at a dinner. Sorry to cut you off. We were talking about how new regions are opening up now.
Yes, hopefully.
Britain making champagne, Canada making more varietals because the weather is changing now. They can foster these grapes and they can grow and produce and yield where they couldn't before. I think that's so interesting. I don't know if we're in the path of destruction, where our planet's going to get, so hot we can't make grapes anymore anywhere. But it's interesting also how climates change, and what was true yesterday is not true today.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely not true tomorrow.
You mentioned Champagne. I know for a fact that many Champagne producers are looking closely at England now, because the weather is becoming almost more balanced in England rather than in Champagne. For them, I think we have to give a bit of a background about Valtellina. For the people listening, is this area that is on the Valtellina Valley. However, nothing grows on flatlands. It's all on the mountains, so it's mountain viticulture, but it's done on very steep terraces. So when you are driving, you have depending on the streets where you're coming from, but you either have on the left or on your right these incredibly steep terraces. So it feels like you are almost like in a like completely different type of landscape compared to what you usually picture as vineyards. Because usually, especially if we're talking about Piedmont, which is one of my favorite area, it seems like a garden, but it is vineyard. It seems everything is so tidy. Mm-hmm. In Valtellina, it's not like untidy, but it's all vertical. This steepness that shows how the vineyards are located in really mountain viticulture, and the style of the Nebbiolo, the locally is called Chiave Nasca. The style of the Nebbiolo obviously completely changed. The viticulture is considered extreme, back to what you were saying, with global warming. In the past, I was speaking with the winemaker. He told me if in Italy, average to harvest an hectare, it takes 100 hours of work. In Valtellina, regularly is between 1,200 or 1,400. So it takes 12 to 14 times per hectare. Yeah.
But what's the yield from a hectare?
Oh, is low. Like it's below 80. 80. How do you say quintal?
Quintal?
Hold on, because I work in kilos.
But
let's say that it's low. The main part is that there is no machinery possible whatsoever, 0%. The beauty about this winery, Nino Negri, is that they every now and then, when the conditions are right, during the harvest, they are forced, funny enough, to use a helicopter for the harvest. Because basically, every one of the people doing the harvest are carrying this backpack on their back, and they put the grapes that they collect on the back, mm-hmm. and they are climbing these steep terraces. But at a certain point, obviously, the backpack becomes full, and so they have to get to a collect point where they drop the grapes, and there is this helicopter that comes, it gets tied up, and it takes the grapes away.
That's pretty cool.
Even because, yes, we are on the Retiche Alps, so we literally are on the Alps, but the beauty is that even though you are in such extreme condition where the weather is so cold, there are specific areas within Valtellina where the heat is, again, extreme. So Valtellina is an area spreading from west to east, all facing south. Just to give a picture, an understanding to the people listening, if Burgundy is 30,000 hectares, Valtellina is only 800. So it's extremely, extremely tidy. And it's divided into 5 different subzones. The subzone Inferno, which for the Italian Americans means hell, is the hottest one. And even though you are on the border with Switzerland, you have cactus on the vineyards growing spontaneously. That's how wild the weather is over there.
So cold at night, hot in the summer, hot in the day?
Very hot during the day. And the terraces are done with rocks, because that's, I think, is an interesting point for the people approaching the Valtellina Nebbiolo. Compared to Langhe, the first difference is one is hill viticulture, Piedmont, I mean. One is mountain viticulture, and is Valtellina. There is a very different soil composition, because Langhe, obviously depending where you are, but mainly you get clay and calcareous in the soil. In Valtellina, because of the collision between the two different plates, you have a blend of many different type of rocks. So there is only rocky outcrops. Mainly is the same type of rock that we have in Central Park. Is schist, mainly schist. So you have these rocks that the terraces are built upon. And when you climb those rocks, because you literally, when you're going on the stairs, going from a terrace to the other, you really have to kind of use your hands as well for how steep they are. You feel that they are not hot, but they're warm. They will retain that warm during the night. They won't become, extremely cold. They will retain a bit that cold, which obviously is good for the vines. But yeah, the climate in general, depending where you are, is extremely cold. Crafting this type of Nebbiolo that is completely different. Is bright, is having more acidity, which for the people listening to us, when we talk about acidity, obviously we mean freshness. These wines are packed with freshness, great minerality because of the rocky outcrops. And in general, you feel more softness and more like a more delicate profile because of the tannins. The tannins are completely different in the Nebbiolo from Valtellina compared to the Nebbiolo in Langhe. The winemaker of Nino Negri was explaining me because of the lack of clay. The lack of clay makes the Nebbiolo in Valtellina to produce less tannins, so you have a more velvety type of palate. Hence wines, in my opinion, by itself, they are more approachable, more immediate, and with more drinkability. We have been talking for like 40 minutes, and we have to open another bottle of wine because this wine is gone already.
That's how you know conversation's good, when you drink more than one
What
bottle.
am I tasting here now? What is your...
Yeah, so the one that we're tasting specifically from Nino Negri is, I would say, their classic...
this is 90% Nebbiolo.
Yeah,
right?
so
you can see
first thing, it's called Quadrio. Quadrio, why? Because this winery, Nino Negri, is a prominent producer in the area. It's considered one of the flagship wineries of Valtellina. Quadrio is the name of the castle, 15th century castle, where the Nino Negri winery has its location today. Is a Valtellina Superiore, so we're talking about a DOCG, not a DOC. And is, like JP was saying, 90% Nebbiolo, whether you want to call it Chiave Nasca if you really want to show off, but it's Nebbiolo, obviously. 90% of Nebbiolo with a splash, 10% of Merlot. The question could be, why Merlot? At the beginning of this podcast with Anthony, we were talking about Nebbiolo. The intrinsic characteristic of Nebbiolo are this earthiness, this austere profile. What Merlot, what that tiny percentage of Merlot does in this case, blended with Nebbiolo, is to add a bit more fruit, to soften a bit the austere character of Nebbiolo. And in general, exactly what we were saying, just bringing more immediacy and drinkability. I think we, the three of us, are the best witnesses of drinkability since we have to open a second bottle because we're really
very easy drinking.
So you feel how the tannins here, they're not sharp, they're much more delicate. It's a wine that doesn't break the budget. In my opinion, a perfect introduction into Nebbiolo for people that are not accustomed to the grape variety. And is Nebbiolo, in general, by itself, is the perfect pairing a grape variety. So high in acidity, which will cut through, creaminess. So if you're doing, any type of creamy pasta, it will work perfectly. Obviously, works perfectly with cheese. Especially this one, I would go with mature type of cheese. And meat, like is...
steak,
ribs. Yes, steaks, ribs. It will work very well with pork and lamb, but also is perfection with game meat. So if you have, game meat, if you have
like
someone that is a hunter and enjoys, go hunting, bring this wine because the combination between flavor and tannins is just perfection to go with game meat. What do you guys think of the wine? Because this we haven't tasted in a little while.
The way you sell the wine, I got to fly there. I got to go visit. It sounds like so beautiful of a place.
So when I went there, I was with a colleague of mine, born and raised here in New York, and he had been selling Nino Negri for many years, but never had the chance to visit the winery. So he was extremely pumped. Fast forward 5 minutes after we start the visit in the vineyards, he's basically dying because of the heat. He specifically wanted to go to a pharmacy to get a good sunscreen because he has, Irish or whatever, like a Scottish heritage.
Those
so he
people
has
can't be
very
in the
white
sun.
skin. Yeah. And then, like the assistant winemaker, Claudio, took us on a very steep vineyard. And I can show you the video. When I got into the car and he showed us the road where we were going up, I was like, let's hope that we get out alive from this. No one was speaking in the car. And then after I
white knuckle driving, right?
Dude, so steep. And, you look on the right and there is...
That's it. You go off a little bit, you're done.
I've
been on a couple roads like that.
I remember I asked once if I could do, a week for free at the winery for the harvest. I wanted to experience an harvest in extreme steepness. And the winemaker looked at me like I was crazy. He said, Giulio, last time, like only people from Valtellina that have experience can do the harvest here. And even them, they have to be always cautious.
Of course.
I think like 7 to 10 years ago, a guy was doing the harvest for Nino Negri and he started rolling.
Started rolling?
Yeah. I mean, like he lost balance and started rolling on the terraces, and like he's alive.
We're drinking his blood.
Was badly. I mean, we're laughing, but he was badly injured, and the helicopter had to come and pick him up and take to the hospital. Like that's how dangerous they. And the crazy part, and I think this defines precisely the Italian mentality. When I ask people from Valtellina, like, who started this idea of making wine in such extreme weather condition on steep terraces. They look at you like you are a cuckoo, like you are out of your mind. They're like, what do you mean? Like, this is how we do it.
This is the only way to do it.
Yeah, for them it's normality, and you're looking at them like you are not fully right in your head. But for them it's like, what do you mean? Like, this is how we do it. They take it, almost like normal. But yes, Anthony, please, by all means, next trip to Italy, go to Milan and then take a car. 2 hours, you head up north. You can even go to Lake Como, so it's very convenient.
I gotta go back, man. I'd like to see Lake Como. I'd like to see Milan. I gotta go see a game.
Oh, and it's a beautiful ride because you go through Lago di Seo as well, which is a smaller lake compared to Lake Como, and not nearly as fancy, but it's still, the landscape is beautiful.
Lake Como is what, like the deepest lake in the world or something crazy?
Is it?
I think so. I think it's like one of the deepest.
You never stop learning.
I think. I might be talking out of my ass.
Spreading misinformation on the Cantina podcast.
I'm not going to get into spreading. You're trying to bait me. I get it. You're trying to bait me about misinformation and who's responsible for these things.
I'm not.
It's not going to happen.
That has never happened to us.
But no, like, I'm glad that, through the chat that we're having, to be honest with you, like, I'm not surprised, but it always surprised me the drinkability of this wine. Like drinking in no time a good Nebbiolo. By the way, you felt the temperature. Nebbiolo, not when it's served at room temperature, but just when it's slightly chilled.
I like that.
It's just perfection.
I like it. Calms down the alcohol.
Right.
Reduces a little bit of the tannins.
Correct.
I say it all the time.
Really brings out the fruit.
Is my favorite. I think it's my favorite one.
You just like, even when I'm doing an in-store tasting for people and I'm showing this wine, I always say, please put it 30 minutes in the fridge, not in the freezer, in the fridge, 30 minutes, open it up, it will develop in your glass, it will change the temperature in your glass, and you'll get to experience a wine that is alive. No, seriously, chapeau, like hats off to what Danilo Drocco is doing in Nino Negri, because year after year the consistency and the quality of the wines are skyrocketing. And we're talking about a wine that is less than
$25.
You know what I mean? Like,
flown in by helicopter. You're drinking wine.
Extreme viticulture, only in harvest possible.
You want to buy some bullshit from California that's made by a bunch of, scientists. or you get some wine made in a hospital area with helicopters for $25.
I mean, to be fair, Napa Valley.
That's a very good story.
Nice.
And you know, another thing that always strikes my mind is that they're basically also working organically.
Yeah.
They're not certified, and this is why Danilo Drocco, the winemaker,
I don't
has
know if you need to be certified.
No, but
It's nice to have the certification.
right.
Just do
Completely
things the
agree.
right way.
I think it's all
Don't
both.
lie to people. Don't be full of shit. You know,
Completely agree.
when you drink certain wines, you get like, what the fuck is that taste? What does that smell? Why does it smell like shit?
Yeah.
You're smelling sulfur.
Right.
You're smelling some kind of chemical, something they threw in there to make it stable or whatever. And your body can tell right away. Like, this wine stinks. Why the hell do I want this wine?
Yeah. No, but the beauty, for example, is when I asked Danilo, so why aren't you guys certified, Danilo Drocco, the winemaker, why aren't you guys certified organic? Like the amount of respect that I have for the answer that he gave me is that because Giulio, unfortunately, Valtellina has a problem. In spring, it rains a lot. So that basically, because of what the laws for organic treatments requires you to do, which is using copper, he said, I don't feel comfortable using too many treatments with copper because copper is still a heavy metal and it will retain in the ground, on the grounds where the roots of my vines.
Why are they using copper? To stop the mold, the humidity? What are they using?
Yeah. Like they have to do treatments to avoid the development. I mean, I'm not an
I guess
agronomist.
irrigation, right? Just
If you have a lot of water, what's that mean? A lot of mold, a lot of fungus. Conditions are ripe for.
So you can flood the plants
Yeah,
out
but the
themselves.
copper is to mitigate that. I was
Well,
something
the
about the
copper is to
vinegar.
drain it out.
No, the copper mitigates the growth of things.
Oh, okay.
So like algae and shit like that won't grow because copper's present.
But the problem is that he's thinking about the health of the consumers.
Of course.
Like, if it rains if it rains for one day and then the day after it doesn't rain, but then the day after again it rains, it means then in 3 days I have to do 3 treatments with copper.
It's a lot of shit
That's
in there.
still heavy, heavy metal retaining in the ground of where I have my vines and where my roots, they reach for nutrients. So, hats off again for someone that tries to be health
conscious.
Yeah, health conscious.
Oh, yeah, I
Thank
agree.
you.
We understand what you're saying. You explain to someone who just wants organic. You say, listen, it's not organic, but you do.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want nothing to do with it. I want only organic.
Yeah, that's
And those closed-minded people are so hard to sell to. So I always say, come open mind.
The best.
We do have organic wine.
The best, when I started working for Frederick Wildman, I learned about this winery that we have in our portfolio from Piedmont, actually, making Nebbiolo, sensational Barbaresco. It's called La Spinona. And they were the first one to get the first one, or among the first one, to get the organic certification in Piedmont in the late 70s, beginning of the 80s. And when I spoke with the current owner, Pietro Berruti, he told me that he decided to move away from the certification precisely for what you said. He said, I don't want anyone to walk into a restaurant or into a store and order my wine because it does have or it does not have the sign of the organic certification. Just, try my wine, decide if you like the quality. That's how he works with organic farming, spontaneous fermentation only. But don't judge my wines because they have or they do not. So I don't, I don't want to be labeled as a good or a bad producer because I do have or I do not have that. So he said, that's how I work. People that knows my wine will, come back to my wines because they know how they're made. But I don't need to sell my wines because I have that sign on my label, and I respect that a lot.
Fantastic wines.
Now this Nebbiolo, different producer,
Right?
different distributor,
Different area.
different area. You can taste it on the finish. A bit more tanginess coming through. That's a little bit lighter, sharper. The Valtellina is a little softer, a little smoother.
Different type of tannins. Still a very good wine. Different vintage as well.
What year is that one?
This is a 2021 Langhe Nebbiolo that they were drinking now.
And this is 2020.
2020, yeah.
These are not superiore.
And this is not super. But the difference for me is the first one that you realize right away are the tannins. I think the Nino Negri is also slightly drier. You know, it has more like a savory type of profile on the palate. Again, doesn't mean better or worse. This is what I always say. I'm fan number one of Nebbiolo. I'm fan number one of wine from Piedmont. I'm fan number one about wines from Valtellina. You don't have to prefer one. You just have to bear in mind that there are different areas. I think we're doing pretty well even with this Nebbiolo, though.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good with it too.
I'm gonna go back somehow on a Sunday, on a rainy Sunday, from the Little Italy in the Bronx. I found myself not going probably straight, but.
Now, which one do you like better? Which one do you prefer?
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
It would be unfair. What about you?
I mean, it's like if you had a screwdriver. You have a Phillips and a flathead. They're both meant for different jobs.
I agree with you. Like
they're both the same. They're both equals, I think, right?
Are they also on the same price point, roughly?
Yeah, exact same price point. I think the Aiman is exactly $25.
So I think that's the best. You know, like I would recommend everyone that wants to understand about
buy both of them.
Yes,
Here
at
Arte Cantina.
Try both and understand how different a grape variety. Because we took this for granted, but we didn't talk about how special Italy is for native grape varieties. Like there are 600 plus indigenous grape variety in Italy. 80% of the territory, I think, is planted on 80 different type of grape variety. However, when we think about France, 75% of France is planted on 10 different grape varieties. The beauty of Italian wines, the beauty of Italian grape varieties or region is that they're very local and they really work perfectly with the food of the region. Like you won't find a Nebbiolo or whatever in Campania or in Apulia or in Sicily. It only grows in Piedmont and outside Piedmont, not in Lombardy, only in Valtellina.
And to add what you're saying, the terroir,
Totally.
the rocks, the people there look at you like you're crazy because you don't do it this way.
Right.
It's their own style, their own uniqueness, it's its own microcosm, microclimate. It's something really you can only get from that area. So without us traveling there, we can experience it through a glass of wine.
That's the beauty. To me, that's the definition of the beauty about Italian wines, is that you get not necessarily only a region, but an area in the glass. With the consumption and the consumers moving more towards wine that they really represent a territory, like you said, a terroir. Italy has the power and the opportunity to really showcase the best biodiversity for what concerns grape variety in the world. I never remember how many grape varieties in total there are in the Italian country, but France, Spain, and Greece become second, third, and fourth, and they don't make the number of grape varieties indigenous that Italy has. Obviously, Phylloxera, which is, this buggy insect that destroyed many of the grape varieties all over Europe, changed a lot. But with Italy and moving region from region, the beauty is that you get to experience completely different type of grape varieties and wines. Like you go to, say that you do the mainstream, right? Like you go to Piedmont, you have Nebbiolo. You go to Veneto, you have Corvina, Rondinella, Corvinone, which makes the Valpolicella wines. Yeah, Molinara. You go to Tuscany. Sangiovese is the protagonist. You go to Campania and you go to Basilicata, where your family is from, Aglianico. You go to Sicily, it depends. You are in the west, you get Nero d'Avola. You are on the east, where there is the Etna volcano, you have Nerello Mascalese. I mean, like the beauty of traveling around Italy is that...
Or if you go to Pantelleria, you have your own fucking variety over there too.
Yeah.
It's funny because we have Giulio and he's very educated.
Very passionate.
Very passionate. He knows a lot. Unlike some other guy we had trying to sell wine, his own wine. Shout out Greg Dag, which is like, buy my wine.
At the end of the day,
no, but Greg Dag is fantastic.
Greg Dag is a New Yorker.
Yes, right? I was gonna say it's it's like two opposite. You know, they're in the same line of business. One knows his, and one knows everything. You know everything. Not that Greg Dag's a bad guy. We love Greg Dag.
You know,
I'm just saying you're full of so much information about.
Thank you.
Wine, the grapes, how it's.
Thank you. No, like I mean,
just start your own podcast.
I think
just the Giulio Grape Hour.
I think this is also part of my.
Giulio, maybe if you could start your own show. And you'll come under our umbrella.
Yeah.
And we'll
under
produce
the
it. We'll promote it.
Umbrella.
Funny
it could be our first show.
You funny. And, was it Fosco?
You know, but oh, look, the personality that there are around Frederick Wildman, the company I work for, that is just amazing. We could start a podcast and have a different type of personality for every episode.
Yeah.
But funny that you mentioned this because there is a colleague of mine, a rep, that he just recently started working for Frederick Wildman and is now obsessed with the wine from Nino Negri. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Giulio, I gotta get you on TikTok because, you know, like you can talk.
You're very personable.
Yeah, like you can talk about these wines and people need to know about these wines. I mean, I need to know about Valtellina in general, but then we have one of the best producers. I can't, you know, cope with the fact that these wines are not everywhere. We don't want the wines to be everywhere. We want to be where, you know, there is people that can transfer the passion that it goes into making this wine. So he's looking into, he's like, I'm going to download TikTok. I'm going to understand how because he's super young, but he's 50 plus.
Yeah.
So he said, I'm going to download TikTok. I'm going to understand how it works. And then we should really open an account with you.
I agree. I think it would take off. I really would.
Yeah. People love information. People are so hungry for entertainment, but also for information.
Especially in like a TikTok form. You give fucking
a little
10 seconds.
1
you
minute
go, done.
Speech. Give a little run.
We go like an hour and a half. They'll watch 10 minutes like Fez and just be like, it's too much wine talks.
But also, you know, like this is the beauty, in my opinion, this is the beauty of one of the many good aspects of our industry, working with wine, is that you can be two different type of person. You can either be the person that gets into one room and wants to be the person that knows more. I don't like that. I like to get in like in one room. For example, like I'm looking on the shelves of Arthur Cantina. I have absolutely no idea of spirits.
Yeah, like, what's behind me?
But I like to come here. You know, we were chatting with Anthony when I walked in about an Amaro that I drank in Italy. And I said, Anthony, I heard that this Amaro is winning so many awards. It's a fantastic Amaro. What do you think about it? And he giving me his feedback about what he thought. And it's not an Amaro that I sell. But I'm just curious because, you know, like there is so much that you can learn from everyone. But if you approach this industry, if we want to call it, or this, let's say, subject with the right attitude, you set yourself to many years to keep learning. And we have the phone now.
Every time. Let's see who's going to be this time.
Grab the Amaro Kamati too.
Kamati? The Kamati.
Because he wants to taste that.
Who's calling? They got a question? Should I answer this?
Yeah, go ahead, answer. Put it on speaker.
Hello, at the Cantina.
Are you
we are not.
Italian in there?
No. Oh, all right. No problem. She goes, on Google says you're open. And then I answer the phone.
Actually, that's what I wanted to say.
I should have no, leave me alone. I don't want it to say
it does say it's bending in, because I was checking
I gotta change that because there's a way to do it for seasonal hours. Like seasonal, like, you close in the summertime. Yeah. I'll fuck with that later.
I should be like, we're filming the podcast. Got anything to
You got anything to add?
Because when I was checking for the address to come here, I looked and it said it opens at 12.
No, I'll fix that later when I go home.
We're gonna start opening on Sundays in like 2 weeks or whatever. So you might as well just leave it.
I gotta send this to the New York Metro manager of Frederick Wildman, Elmer, who's a good friend, and he's.
You've had this?
Yes. I had it, but I'll be honest with you. Like this gives you the picture, and I'm not trying to sell Arthur Cantina, but of the selection that you guys have. I had this.
Drew, sell Arthur Cantina.
Yeah, sell this, please.
So no, well, I am. Obviously, my passion number one is about wine, and then obviously working with wine and working in this industry, you get to experience different type of category, right? Like the Italian market is not big on tequila and mezcal. Working in,
I never thought about that.
you know what I mean?
I can't imagine.
Like now obviously I'm dedicated for Frederick Wildman to the Italian portfolio, but luckily I get to experience many different type of products. Like we have a fantastic mezcal. I remember we tasted together.
Yes.
Which one?
It was a little one he brought. It was interesting.
Yeah,
I love mezcal.
And I'm like, okay, so why am I enjoying this type of mezcal rather than other? But back to the Amaro that we have in front. Like I'm not the biggest, Amaro consumer, but I do enjoy having a glass of Amaro every now and then. And I'll be honest with you, I was in Montalcino. We went to see a very special producer that we have in our portfolio there. And at the end of the dinner, we went in a restaurant that was recommended to us by this producer, where there were all producers having dinner there. And I'm talking about Ivy League of Montalcino people having dinner there. And he came and he was like, guys, I want you to taste this Amaro. I think last year or this year has won Best Amaro in Italy. And I'm like, I never heard it before. Like 0%, no idea whatsoever. And he poured it to us. And it's me, one colleague, and another person. And we look at each other and I'm like, well, fuck, this is fantastic. And it was this.
This one?
It was this Amaro. So when I walked in today and, I was looking on the shelf, I saw that,
It's funny because I didn't realize, like, when I first started working here, people would come in and they would say, oh, your whiskey selection is fantastic.
Crazy,
or, your Amaro selection is fantastic. And then the more you see other shops, and I go, oh, yeah, we do have, like, the best Amaro. Like, the biggest Amaro selection. We do have our whiskey selection second to none. Like, I've been into places everywhere. And people will come in and say, and I'm like, yeah. And then you go other places, I go, holy shit, we do. We're better. Not to, but we're better than everybody.
We're better.
But the crazy part,
we're better than everybody.
Like, to me, to be honest with you, like Anthony said, sell Arthur Cantina. Like, I don't need to because I
didn't say it like that.
That's exactly it. Sell it.
But you know what I mean? Like, I walk into the store, today, I work in this industry, and this is I live in New York City. This is the first retail I walk in, and I see this Amaro. So meaning that there is, how do you say, an approach to what you guys decide to buy in for the store that is cautious and is peculiar and is all quality driven.
Well, it's also a reflection of me and the guys who work here. I love Amaro. I love tequila.
Yep.
I like grappa. I like grappa.
Yep.
I love whiskey. Whether it's bourbon, Scotch, Japanese, Irish.
And that's also what your market asks, right?
I love it. It's just something I know about, something I'm passionate about. I hate vodka. I fucking despise vodka. It's disgusting to me. I want to throw up. For whatever reason, maybe I drink too much as a little kid. I just hate it.
That's the dude.
We have, but it's nothing crazy. It's it's Tito's. It's
Beluga. The Beluga is really good.
The Beluga actually
My area of expertise is far from it. Yeah,
I actually like Beluga a lot. That's maybe one of the vodkas that I really like, but it's not my passion. So I don't want to focus on it. Right. I don't want to tell you, this is great, this is fantastic, unless I really like it. Yeah. Because that's what's the point of going to a specialty shop if you don't get someone who really is invested in what they're selling?
And it's back on it. Yeah.
If I'm at Lexus dealership and I hate Lexus, why are you going there? Why are you even selling the Lexus for? For what reason?
Completely agree with you.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's Peters. He was supposed to be on. He canceled on us.
So
that's okay. Well, we'll get him on.
We'll get him on.
He'll have a redemption on.
Yeah, I saw that.
We should do it at the tailgate.
Oh, yeah. That would be a bad idea. I wanted to get back to what you said before, Giulio.
Is that?
What do Italians in Italy drink? But obviously Italian wine. But what do they look for outside of Italy?
That's okay. So that's a very good.
Fantastic.
It is fantastic. I'm still on the wine, but I will move close.
Yeah, we got to finish the wine.
I finished the wine.
That's a very interesting.
I finished my wine.
That's a very interesting conversation because I've been now outside of the Italian market for a couple of years, and I was speaking about this last night with a colleague. So, if we have first to think about the age of people that we're talking about. I told you, like I started drinking wine, drinking alcohol really when I was 25 years old, right? I don't think people start approaching the wines as a subject when they're very young. When you are 18, 19, in Europe, sorry, because here it's illegal, but you drink, well, cheap vodka, cheap tequila, like you have, like you know, you don't know better.
Wait, in Europe, you're saying?
Yeah, because...
We'll do the same here, though.
Right, but that's
When
Because
I
you're a
was
kid,
14, we were drinking.
You
I'm
grab
saying-
whatever you can, Georgie vodka, whatever.
I'm saying generalized speaking,
Yeah.
like you don't know better. We all come, let's say, from the same background, so you don't want to spend too much money on alcohol. Eventually, even in my experience, you can get exposed to wine and develop an interest or a passion or an obsession for it. But back to the question of Anthony, what does the majority of people drink in Italy? So if we're talking about our age, it's definitely wine. Is it shifting?
Beer, right? They all drink beer.
Well, that's a good question. So yes, we do drink a lot of beer. The interesting thing is that, for example, me, working in the wine industry 5 days per week, right? During the weekend, I either do two things. Either I don't drink at all, or I either drink something different from wine. Now, don't get me wrong. If JP and Anthony invites me for dinner on a Saturday night, there is nothing I'd rather drink than wine. Why? Because I am with people that they will enjoy, and we can talk about what we're drinking as much as they share the same passion, right? But if I'm out with whatever people, or with friends of mine that they want to go for the cheapest wine, well, I'd rather drink water for a specific reason. To me, wine is not a work thing but it's a passion, right? So if I have to go back week after week, I need to detach a bit myself in order to be always extremely enthusiastic when I'm taking the cork out of a bottle. If we're talking about Anthony's question, I think people our age in Europe in general, but in Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, we drink wine. The market though is slightly, I think, shifting towards cocktail. Here cocktails are huge. The rosé, market for rosé wines is shrinking summer after summer. Which one? This one or?
Let's finish that one.
Is shrinking summer after summer because of cocktails. And I understand, like you want to do something different. Definitely, we don't have as much as a spirit industry in general. You drink cheap tequila, cheap vodka, cheap whatever you want when you're young, right? But then when you get older, you expose yourself more to wine, and then maybe you, like you were saying, Anthony, you experience Amaro or different type of spirits to end, like grappa, whatever it is. Spirits are becoming more trendy. I wouldn't say more popular. I would say more trendy. Like it's almost, I think, a social thing.
Because we get a lot, like I'll see on our website that we get a lot of hits from like Europe, like Germany.
Hits us up a
for
lot.
whiskeys.
They are
They look at, but we don't ship to Germany.
to Germany, all right.
Not yet.
But like I see a lot of interest in it, and I'll get people emailing us. I get even German tourists. They come in. Oh, we have this is all the crazy whiskey. We have a whiskey club where back in my hometown, in Germany. You know. So like I see that like a lot of Europeans are starting to get into the liquor. I remember when I was, I think it was 20. Whenever the Brazil World Cup was, I think it was. I was in Italy for whatever the summer, it was Confederations Cup. USA played, I think, Italy, and USA won somehow. Whatever. It was my fault.
I completely don't remember.
No, it was the Confederations Cup. They tied or won, whatever the case was. What it was that USA ended up going on because they beat somebody, and Italy lost to Brazil, and so USA qualified instead. And I'm, the only American, I'm cheering. So we go to the bar and I go, I'm going to buy, a shot for everybody. I want a Budweiser and a Jack Daniels. And they were all like, oh, I can't drink whiskey. Me and one other guy, the only one I took the shot. The other guy just sipped it the whole time. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? It was either a beer or wine. I ordered whiskey. Everybody's head exploded.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
But see, I think JP just touched a topic very, very similar to the one that we were having before. You said, I have many tourists, many German, walking in and asking me about American whiskey, right? I think this is what American people should explore more with wine. I'm not talking about Italian, but definitely Italian has a lot of biodiversity, but just don't always go to the wines that you are accustomed to. The beauty about wine is that, I always say this example, when you go to a pizzeria, you always order the same pizza or you try to get different type of pizza. You know what I mean? Like go to a retail, ask Anthony, ask JP, or ask whoever it is, like ask for something different. Be able to say, hey, this is usually what I like to drink. I want to try something different. Have you ever drunk a frappato? Have you ever drunk a gaglioppo? Have you ever drunk an aglianico? Don't always stick with the same things. Now, when you go to a restaurant or to a pizzeria and you order a new pizza, you might get lucky and love the ingredients that they put on it, or you might hate it, right? But you still learn from it. Why didn't I like that pizza? Because of this and that. Do I love this pizza? Yes, this and that. Same with wine. Just give yourself the opportunity to be exposed to new things, different things, because that's the beauty of our wine.
It's funny you say that, because I got people, they come in and they go, I'm from, whatever, Argentina. Do you have Argentinian wines? No, I have Italian wines. We have a couple of Argentinian. Oh, no, I don't. So, a lot of people are like that. Oh, I'm from Spain. I only want Spanish wines. It's like, well, try this one. No.
We'll go to the Spanish neighborhood, motherfucker.
Yeah, I was about to say,
came over here, get some Italian shit.
You don't have Hungarian wine?
No, Hungarian.
I didn't even know Hungarian have Hungarian wine,
It doesn't make any sense, yeah. But in general, I remember we didn't talk about this, and then I don't want to, bother anyone. But before moving into the wine industry, working for the wine importer in Australia, I had the opportunity to get a sommelier job. And I remember, I was like, I don't know anything, but I know a little bit about Italian wines. French wines, you can go in any store in the world, any restaurant, you can be exposed to French wine anytime. But when do I get the opportunity to be exposed to Spanish wines? And I said, you know what, I don't know anything about Spanish wine. Let me try to apply for the job into this Spanish wine bar that is in Sydney. And I love that, because again, back to the conversation that we were having, the beauty of this industry is to have a humble approach and to get to learn from everyone and to get to experience different things. One of the best wine I've ever had was a Spanish wine. Ratio quality price between Italy and Spain, very, very hard to beat. Just let yourself, experience some bad experience with wines. You still learn from it. So it's something that you put in your pockets. But what happens if you, out of the blue, you get to drink whatever, an Aglianico from Basilicata, the region where Anthony's from, or you get to drink an Amaro from Liguria that you never drink before, or you get to drink a Mencia from Spain that you never even heard before.
And you end up liking it.
You know what I mean?
Well, if you don't like it, okay, well,
yes, but how many people have drunk Pietro Piccolo from Spain? You know what I mean? How many people have drunk an Amaro from Liguria? How many people have drunk Nebbiolo from Valtellina? The beauty and the message that maybe we can try to send out with this podcast today is, don't be afraid. One day you will choose very well and you will be extremely happy, but let yourself also be exposed to bad experience, because even from the bad experience, whatever it is, with wine, with cheese, with a pasta, with a pizza, it doesn't change. You still learn from it.
That's right.
That's a good way to end the podcast.
I think so, because We're an hour and a half now.
Yeah, always an hour and a half.
I told you that I can talk.
Always an hour
I
and
told
a
you that I can have.
No, it's fine. When we have guests, that's what happens. We interview it, you know.
Awesome.
But I
Thank
think
you,
it was,
guys.
No, thanks for coming on. We had
Thank
a
you
great
for coming
time.
on, Giulio. Had a good time.
All those wines that we
best.
drank, available here at the Cantina or at thecantina.com, and we'll have you
sure-
on again.
Yeah, this ain't gonna be the last time
And
we'll
I'll
have
be-
you on.
And I'll be like we have many different regions and wines to talk about it. And I'll be here next Saturday for the in-store tasting.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in,
Thanks for
everybody.
tuning in this week.
Like,
Ciao
subscribe.
ragazzi,
all that.
grazie.
Don't buy
right.
no Spanish shit from us.